Hi everybody, good morning. It's Sunday the 27th of June, and I have decided that I would use a different camera angle because I'm right-handed, and when I had my camera over on the other side you couldn't see anything I was doing. So this is a continuation of the bowl that I made yesterday, and I promised that I would show you how I trim and carve it. Trimming is nothing special to people who are going to be watching this video because they probably already know how to. But what I do is a lot of carving, and maybe I can help people with that part of the process. So right now I'm just going to show you how I trim this large bowl. I have it on a bat, and I have centered it. I haven't anchored it down. Normally what I would do is wet the rim and then wet the bat and then put the pot down, and then it would create its own slip or suction and the pot would stick to the bat. But because this is heavy and I'm not really going to do a whole lot of trimming, I'm just going to trust that the weight of the pot is just going to be enough to keep it in place. So all I do now is I don't want to do any tap centering because I have to leave the sides of the wall just a little bit softer than probably what we would normally do when we're carving or trimming, because in the carving I need there to be some softness and some give. So it is leather hard. You can see I can push it and whatever, but there is a slight amount of give. So I'm just going to center it, and it's pushing this way a little bit, so I'm just going to slide it a millimeter. Still a little off because when I make my foot on the bottom of this, I want my foot to be centered to the pot. Okay, one more adjustment and I think we should be there. Perfect. So I just use my finger. Feel a little bit. Okay, that's better. All right, so the tools that I'm using are very simple. They're the Diamond Core carving tool, trimming tool, and this one is the, well, it says 2020 on it. I don't know if that's the number of the tool or when I bought it. Oh, it's the T5. This is the T5 tool, and then I have the Mud Tools. This is just a super tool. Mine is getting a little bit rusty. I live by the sea, so my tools tend to rust a little bit, probably a little bit sooner than yours might, but I've just learned to work with it. And then I have a dowel. This is a really great little tool if you ever find it. I sign with this end on my pots when I'm finished. I use it to smooth out the holes that I put into some pots. It's just like a really great tool. I actually use it on my handles. If you can imagine, when you're throwing a handle, let's just say this is a handle, and you have the end, and then what I do is, in order to flatten it out, is I just take this and the rounded part and I just kind of roll it across, and it gives me a nice curvature, widens it out a little bit so that I can stick it to the pot. It's great. So this is a really, really, really helpful tool if you can find it. Don't ask me where I got it. I can't tell you. So what I'm going to do now is, I know I have a caliper and I have pre-measured the width of the bottom of my pot. So all I do now is I just rest this on the bottom, and then I make a mark, and then I just kind of do a little bit of a line here, and then I know that I don't want to bring my foot inside this line. So it's just a little bit of a guideline. And then I'm just going to start trimming away. Again, my clay is a little bit softer than I would normally like to trim, because I need the clay to be soft for my carving. So I'm just going to trim this away, and I'm just going to go through this quickly. I don't really need to tell you what it is that I'm doing. Sometimes I hold my hand over on the other side to kind of act as a counter pressure. Again, I don't have any any lugs, I guess you want to call it, holding this pot down. It's just sheer gravity. And I have learned to tap my pot, and I know by the sound of the tapping how thick my wall is. Well, I don't know exactly how thick it is, but I know when I've reached my limit. So, and sometimes I just give it a little push, not very hard push, but if it starts to give at all, so there's a very, very slight give, so I can probably go down about another millimeter on that. And then my bottom. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to work on the bottom. And I'm going to create the inside of my foot. Again, I tap and a little bit of pressure. Now this is pretty thin. So if you remember, I threw this pot probably to, I think I said yesterday it was about 5 or 6 centimeters. I keep saying centimeters, sorry, millimeters. So I know I can't go down too far. Certainly not on the flat part. Remember, we made a flat bottom on this bowl. So I know that I can go straight across. If I had put a curve on the inside of my bowl, I would curve this to the outside. But because the bottom of my pot is flat, you want the outside of your pot to mimic the inside of your pot. But we all know that too. You're experienced potters. Okay, I'm not going to go down too much farther. I don't want to compromise the bottom of this pot. And I will smooth that out with my metal rib. And now I'm going to take care of the outside of the foot. And I'm going to use the corner of this and just go down. And I can take it down just a little bit lower than this because I know the curve of the pot starts somewhere around here and moves out. And it's sticking again because my clay is just a little bit soft. Okay. So if you're just doing a regular pot, like a large pot, I don't recommend you trim it as soon as I am. Make sure that the clay is just a little drier, and then you don't have this sticking problem. Okay. Okay, I'm pretty much there, where I want to be. When you're working on bowls, learning to tap your bowl to understand the thickness. The deeper the tap, the thinner the walls. Well, not necessarily the deeper the tap, sorry, the deeper the sound of the tap. Okay, I'm done with that. One more pass. I think there's just a little bit of a wow here. I just want to get rid of this here. Like I said when we were throwing the pot, we really want to concentrate on the inside of the pot because the outside we can always trim. Okay. Now I'm just going to get rid of the rough edge. I'm going to tidy up the inside of this. I don't want to fiddle with that too much, it's very thin. So I'm just going to take my tool now and I'm just going to refine my foot here. And I use my finger to compress the clay a lot, especially on the foot. And I'll do it in there. Tidy this up just a little bit. And I'm barely touching it. I can't find my metal rib. Oh, there it is. Pardon me for reaching across and in front. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my metal rib, and I make sure that my one side here is very smooth. And now I'm just going to go and I'm just going to compress the outside of this pot. My trimming is done. I'm not going to fiddle with that. I took it a bit thin, so now I'm just going to sign it. And I sign it with my name. And that's it. So now I take this small bat here and I put it on here, because now I'm going to turn this upside down because we need to carve it. And this is just a flip. I'm just going to flip the piece over, and then I'm going to lift this bat off fairly quickly because this is a bit soft and I don't want the bowl to collapse, so let's hope it doesn't. And there we have it. And now I feel to make sure that everything is good. It is. I have a little tidying up to do on the rim. So I have just a damp sponge, and I just tidy up the rim where it was sitting on the bat. Better to do it now at some point than have to worry about doing it later. And that's it. So now I'm going to carve it. And what this is, the bowl that I'm doing, somebody has asked me to make it for them. And it is a leaf design, and what I'm going to do, and I might have to adjust my camera, is I'm going to put this on a swivel here, and I think I'm going to have to lift this up a little bit. Let me just check. Oops. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, this just gets it a little more level. I'm a tall woman, so I need things elevated. Now turn off my wheel because I don't want the wheel to spin accidentally. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start carving. Now I use this tool by Sin. It's Sin Tools. That's it there, Sim Tools. And this I love. I love the pointiness of this tool, and I can carve really, really well. I've been using it for a couple years. I've never had to sharpen it. So if you like to carve and this video inspires you to do some carving, I hope you give it a try. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my towel and I'm just going to lay it over the part that I'm not trimming, because I live in Jamaica and I have quite a breeze coming through and it will dry out my bowl and make it difficult. So where I'm not carving, I'm just going to rest this towel and I'm just going to start. And what I do is I just start cutting out leaves, and I go down and I leave them in while I carve out the rest of the bowl. And I'm going quite a ways down. And then and this is just freehand. I don't have any pattern in mind. And I just go hope you can see what I'm doing. And I just do all these leaves in different designs and patterns, different angles. And I have learned in my carving, this is kind of a little trick that I'll teach you for anybody who wants to carve. Rather than just go in, I actually angle my blade on, when I'm carving on the left-hand side, I angle it out to the left so that when you're looking through the pot, you don't see the cut line. You're going to see it from the back side, but not from the front side, which is what your people are going to see when your bowl is sitting on a table or whatever. And you'll understand what I mean if you give this a try. So if I go straight down, you will see the cut line. But if I angle my knife outwards, then you won't. I'm not explaining this very well, but if you give it a try, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So like I said, I angle it that way, and then when I come on this side, I angle it that way. And that's a neat little trick that took me a long time to come to that realization. And then I'm just going to do one big one on the bottom. And I always do a dragonfly in my pots. So I'm just going to add it in now, and I'll show you how I do that. And here's the body. And the other two wings. But this is, this would tell anybody that it's my piece because I put it in every one of these leaf bowls that I do. And then I have a large and a small hole puncher. Oh Lord, there's my hole punch. I don't see it. Whatever. So I have this Kemper hole punch. And then what I do is I just do like two little eyes or antennas, and I just cut them out here. I'll show you what this looks like now. I'll take these out. And I always push them back. And so there you go. This is a signature. That would tell anybody that this pot is made by me. And then again, I just continue along. Okay. We've done about a quarter of the pot already, so it doesn't take too long. But once I make I'm committed to the cut line once I make it. Once I decide where it's going to go, I'm committed to it. So I don't want a jerky movement because that will show up on my pot. And sometimes I also change the shape, so I can do that. I can do all kinds of things. Because this is freehand, then I can just slide this one in. So I told a bunch of you on one of my videos that my daughter, Christine, rows for Canada. She has for quite a few years. Anyway, I'm happy to say that she's off to the Olympics. And we couldn't be more proud. She's worked very hard over the last, I'm going to say 18 years as a competitive rower starting in her high school. And then she went through the under 23s and then onto the senior team. She rose in the women's 8. And next week she's off to Tokyo to climatize and get her last bit of training in before the Olympics start. Last Olympics, I was really lucky and I went to Rio to watch her row. It was just such an amazing experience, being around all the athletes and going to Canada House and all of the joy and excitement of an Olympic Games. And it's just incredible, and I'm just so sorry that the pandemic has done what it has done, because it has taken the experience for the athletes and for the families. It's taken it away from us this year. And we can't go to Tokyo. It's very sad. I'm just going to put a little small one in here. They don't have to be the same size. And it's hard on the athletes, because we were very fortunate in Rio, because Canada House was right by the rowing event, and I got to see a little bit of my daughter after her races. Not very long, maybe half an hour or whatever, because they're on an incredible regime. They're not there to see their family, they're there to row for their country. So I'm just about met up with the start. We're almost right there, and then I'm going to knock these out and I'm going to show you the bowl. So we'll just be another couple of minutes. Anyway, so any of you who are experiencing what I'm experiencing and having a family member as an Olympian, it is just an incredible feeling. I wish you all the success as well. I certainly, even though I am Jamaican, I'm also Canadian. So I have two nations to cheer for. But as Jamaica does not compete in rowing, I'm not conflicted with how I'm going to cheer. So now I just take I have a larger hole tool, and in just some of the spaces where there's a little bit of volume here, I'm just going to punch a little hole. And it's all random. Just wherever my heart desires, we'll just punch a little hole. And the reason this is so easy, because I don't have a pattern, so I don't have to map it all out in advance. It doesn't mean you don't have to create a pattern. You're certainly welcome to create a pattern. I don't, not for this particular bowl. Other bowls I do, and I can show you one. Now I just take the end, there's a blunt end on the end of this tool, and now I just start to punch these out. I'm not going to pick this bowl up because, as I said, the clay is very soft and I don't want to compromise it. Glazing this will be easy. I'm going to dry it to bone dry, and then I'm going to fire it next week. I don't rush the drying in this because I don't want to compromise and I don't want the rim to crack. So I will let this dry over days. Again, living in Jamaica, it dries faster than probably a lot of you experience. And then I will bisque fire it. I will glaze it, and what I will do is I dip my glazes. I dip my pots primarily. I have buckets of glaze behind me, and then I will glaze it one color, and then sometimes what I'll do is I dip the whole thing in one color and then I will dip the rim. And I'm learning and experimenting as I go along now with using multiple glazes. Amicos and Opulence are my dipping glazes. And then, you know, just experimenting and getting used to the flow and how these glazes are working together. It's a lot of fun. This one I'm just going to do in Opulence Sea Spray. It's going to be a solid green color because this is what the client wants. And now this is it. And because the clay is as soft as it is, you can see all this, I'm going to put it in my reclaim bucket right now. I don't want these pieces to dry out at all. And then I can reclaim them. If I let them dry out, then it's a whole different process than what I'm doing here and now. So bear with me. Timing is everything in pottery. And if I want to save all these trimmings, which I do, I'm just going to put it all in my bucket, keep it damp, and then I can just reclaim it. Okay. So now the last thing I need to do is get my sponge a little bit wet, and then I'm just going to go on the outside now and just tidy this up. Again, I don't want to fuss with it too much while it's so soft. Even if I let it sit for about an hour, it will stiffen up enough that I'll move it. And I don't know if you can see behind me here, I have a baker's rack with a plastic covering over it, and that's where I put my stuff to dry, as there's no breeze hitting it. It's got zippers on the side, and I can lift that plastic up and down, and that's where that's my drying room. Anyway, so that's all I do is I just tidy up the edges of these cutouts, because if I glaze them and leave them as sharp as they are, they could actually hurt somebody and cut somebody, and I don't want that. And likewise, I do it on the inside. So I don't need to show you that. You get the idea of what it is that I do, but I suppose I can risk it. Let me show you how it looks. I have to hold it very, very, very carefully. And there's the bowl. And there it is cut out. So I want to thank you all very much for watching me as we go through this adventure of making a bowl and carving and trimming it. So, or I should say trimming and carving it. Let me, just tell you right now that the bowl is 13 inches by 6 inches. And giving the shrinkage, it will be probably just a little bit over 12 inches and probably about 5.5 inches tall. It'll be a lovely bowl. So thanks very much for watching me. Thanks for joining my YouTube channel. I hope you like this video. If you do, please press like. And I hope you subscribe. It would be nice. I don't post a ton of videos, but I do have fun making them and sharing my little bit of knowledge with you. So thank you all very much. Enjoy your Sunday.